Hello and welcome to our presentation. My name is Peter.
And my name is David, or in Vietnamese, Phạm Tiến Dũng. This presentation will be all about the country of Vietnam, or officially the Socialist Republic of Vietnam.
Let's start off with the location. Vietnam is located at the eastern edge of mainland Southeast Asia, with area of 331,212 square kilometers. Vietnam shares borders with China to the north and Laos and Cambodia to the west.
Vietnam's capital city is Hanoi since the year 1976. Hanoi is the second most populated city of Vietnam, with population of 8 million. Its former capital city is Ho Chi Minh, commonly known as Saigon. Its population is about 9 million, which make it the number one populated city in Vietnam.
Other important info is, for example, the population. Vietnam's population estimates to about 100 million. Its density is 295 people on kilometer squared.
Now, let's take a look at the government. The role of the General Secretary, or formerly General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam Central Committee, took a man named Nguyễn Phú Trọng. The president is Võ Văn Thưởng, the prime minister is Phạm Minh Chính, and the National Assembly chairman is Vương Định Huệ.
Another important information are the religions. 73.7% of people have no religion. 14.9% are Buddhists. 8.5% are Christians, and the other 2.8% have different religion. I will now show you the beauty of Vietnam in 3 minutes.
Most beautiful place I've ever been, ever. This is like
in my entire life.
Okay, so today we are in Sapa. We are deciding to climb up one of these mountains back here.
It's time to take a look at Vietnamese culture. The culture had been influenced by Chinese culture due to the 100 years of the Northern rule, where parts of northern Vietnam was settled into various Chinese dynasties.
I think we should take a look at quick Chinese history.
Stretching along the coast of Southeast Asia, with dense mountains and jungles to the west,
the Socialist Republic of Vietnam is home to approximately 100 million people. Vietnam's history has been shaped through its geography, maritime trade, as well as this tumultuous relationship with its neighbor China to the north. Since prehistoric times, Vietnam's Red River Delta has been a population center due to its fertile soil and defensible location. Feudal communities of rice growers began to develop in this region and eventually confederated to form the Kingdom of Van Lang, which corresponds to the Bronze Age Dong Son material culture. Along the southern coast, the separate Sa Huin seafaring culture developed strong ties with the western central Philippine archipelago. The Lac Viet people of Van Lang united with the Yu people of Nam Kam to form O Lac in 257 BC. The ancient Yu people are the ancestors of the modern Thai-speaking peoples of northern Vietnam, such as the Nung. Short hair, tattoos, and the practice of teeth blackening were all cultural aspects originating with the Yu. U Lac had a significant uniting influence, however it only lasted the one long reign of its founding monarch. In response to the first Chinese emperor Qin Shi Huang and his successors' expansion southwards, the many Yu tribes in the region united and formed a powerful kingdom of Nan Yu, which became wealthy through the exportation of ivory, pearls, and precious woods from the jungles of Vietnam. As China reunited under the Han Dynasty, they began to extract tribute from Nan Yu. Eventually, this was not enough to satisfy the Han Emperor. Nan Yu was invaded and incorporated into the Han Empire. Han Chinese rule was marked with failed attempts to assimilate the Viet populace into the larger homogenized Chinese culture, particularly with common women who enjoyed far greater autonomy and cultural status than their Chinese counterparts at the time. In 40 AD, two Viet daughters of a military prefect rebelled after one of their husbands was executed by the Han. The Trung sisters ambushed the small local garrison of their village and began taking other cities and towns. The Chinese did not initially take the rebellion seriously, and responded incompetently, and were defeated time and again by the sisters, who had raised an army of 80,000, including a sizable number of women, and villagers whom they had trained. The young Trung sisters, still in their 20s, established local rule, and were both crowned as queen and viceroy. Their reign would be short, as a Han veteran general with an overwhelming force was dispatched. Depending on the source, the Trung sisters were either executed, died in battle, or committed suicide to avoid capture. According to Chinese sources, their decapitated heads were sent back to the Han capital as a trophy. During the second Chinese domination of Vietnam, the rebellions would continue whenever there was internal instability in the empire. To the south, the venerable kingdom of Champa formed from an amalgamation of Sa Huin culture and various other seafaring peoples in the region. They were greatly influenced by the Indianized Funan Empire to their south, and widely adopted Hinduism and Buddhism. In 544, after 2 centuries of failed rebellions, the Vat Suan kingdom was established by a local magistrate of non-Yu descent who granted himself the title Southern Emperor. It would take nearly another 60 years till a large enough invasion could be organized to retake Nam Viet. Over the next 300 years, there were 8 major rebellions. Eventually, the Tang dynasty granted the Vietnamese the status of an autonomous vassal, as long as they would make regular tribute payments. Shortly after the Tang collapse, the Viet were able to gain full independence from the Southern Han. Over the next 60 years, a period where 12 warlords ruled over a divided country, and 3 short-lived dynasties ensued. Despite the disunity of this period, a major Song Chinese invasion was repulsed in 981. Stability was eventually brought about by the Li dynasty, who instituted equal rule of law rather than the whims of an autocrat. The stable 216-year reign of this dynasty ended in a palace coup. The 6-year-old empress was overthrown, and her 7-year-old husband of the Tran clan was made emperor in a relatively peaceful transition. The Tran dynasty is most renowned for repulsing not 1, 2, but 3 Mongol invasions of Vietnam, most famously in 1288 when a massive Mongol fleet was utterly eviscerated. War between the Dai Viet and Champa broke out after the Viet emperor's sister was married to the Cham king, who died a year later. According to Cham tradition, she was to be cremated with him at his funeral, where she was rescued by Viet funeral guests, sparking all-out war and the Viet conquest of Champa. The occupation was short-lived, and the Tran dynasty fell into internal infighting with some of the family allying with the Cham. This began another chaotic period with multiple short-lived dynasties and a brief Chinese Ming dynasty domination of Vietnam. This period was followed by the longest-lasting Viet dynasty, the later Li, which firmly incorporated Champa as a vassal state. However, as time went on, the Champa, Ming Bac Mac in the north, Trin, and Nguyen lords all acted as independent states with their separate capitals and armies, with the Li dynasty emperor eventually only acting as a ceremonial leader. The Trin and Nguyen lords fought in several wars attempting to unite the country. Firearms were rapidly adopted by both armies during these wars, supplied by French, Dutch, and Portuguese merchants. The lavish lifestyles of the nobility and the toils of war on the majority of the population led to a mass peasant revolt led by the Tai Sun brothers, who briefly ruled the country. Through a turbulent period where another Chinese invasion was fought off seeking to reinstate the Li Emperor. The unstable rule of the Tai Sun was overthrown by the resurgent Nguyen, who consolidated the country and expanded its territory in alliance with Siam and France, who supplied them weapons, in exchange for a trade monopoly. Over time, the relationship became strained, as Vietnamese emperors sought to reduce growing French influence. After jailing Catholic missionaries entering the country illegally, French Emperor Napoleon III invaded, using this as pretext, taking land in the south and negotiating a favorable treaty. 2 decades later, the French would conquer the rest of Vietnam, and continued to take territory from the Siamese Empire. During World War II, the Empire of Japan would occupy French Indochina, ruling through a puppet emperor as the French had done. The Japanese occupation was countered by the Viet Minh, communist rebels whom were led by Ho Chi Minh. After the war, he declared independence for the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. The monarchy was disestablished, and a 7-year-long war with the French began. The Soviet Union and Communist China supported the Viet Minh, while the United Kingdom and United States supported France. After the war ended, the Geneva Accord partitioned French Indochina into Communist Democratic Republic of Vietnam, the State of Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Vietnamese Catholics moved south, while Viet Minh moved north. The following year, a referendum was held, which overwhelmingly decided that the South would not be reunited with the North. Communists in the South alleged mass vote rigging and formed the Viet Cong. Backed by China, the North began aiding the Viet Cong. While fearing communist expansion throughout the region, the U.S. began aiding the South, beginning the Second Indochina War, or simply the Vietnam War. This aid was slowly increased to air support, and in 1965, 3,500 U.S. Marines were deployed. By the end of that year, more than 200,000 U.S. military personnel had been deployed to South Vietnam. The war would be a long and brutal affair. In 1970, North Vietnam invaded Cambodia in support of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge. The United States and South Vietnam invaded as well in retaliation. After this escalation, anti-war sentiment began to steadily grow in the United States. By 1973, President Nixon, who was embroiled in the midst of the Watergate scandal, ceased all bombing of the North, and subsequently pulled all troops out of Vietnam. The North then began to rapidly advance towards Saigon as refugees poured south, fearing the communist regime's vengeance. In April 1975, Saigon fell, and the war was effectively over, establishing the Socialist Republic of Vietnam the following year. This has been Epimetheus, and I hope you really enjoyed that lightning-fast version of Vietnamese history.
Vietnam is one of the most linguistic diverse countries in Southeast Asia. There are currently more than 100 speaking languages in the country that belong to the 5 major linguistic families: Austronesian, Austroasiatic, Hmong-Mien, Sino-Tibetan, and Kra-Dai. I'm not going to go through all of them because we would be here for a long time.
It's also notable that Vietnamese culture has some of the most unique art. The traditional Vietnamese art is practiced from ancient times to today's days. Here are some examples.
One of the many things that differs in Vietnam from Czechia is its traffic. In Czechia, you simply wait on a crosswalk until you see a green man light up indicating that you can cross. In Vietnam, however, rules on the road almost do not exist. If you are a pedestrian, nobody will stop for you and you will have to walk through many cars and scooters, hoping that nothing kills you.
We're here on the streets of Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, where it's estimated over 4 million motorbikes cram the roadways every day. When you first witness it, it is a little overwhelming, but there is a structured chaos to it all. Driving on the streets here present their own challenges, but being a pedestrian is challenging also. Here in the city, there are a number of streetlights and crosswalks to make it easy for us, but when those aren't there, what do? How do you cross the road? Well, you actually take it slowly, so the motorcycles and cars can anticipate your movements, and they will, in fact, drive around you. So why don't we show you what it's like to cross the road here in Vietnam.
I will show you a song that you may know from TikTok that you didn't realize is from Vietnam.
Of course, memes are a big part of every culture in these days. So here, take a look at some memes from the beautiful country of Vietnam.
Okay, it's childish, can't be no homegirl, drop it like the NASDAQ. Move white girls like this coke up my ass crack. Move black girls, cause man, fuck it, I'll do either. I love pussy, I love bitches, dude, I should be running Peter in Adidas with some short shorts. B-O-O all over me, my green is where it's supposed to be. Your green is in my grocery. This Asian dude, I stole his girl, and now he got that Koji beef. My dick is like an accent mark, it's all about the over ease. Hot like a parked car, I sound weird like nigga with a hard R. Fly like the logo on my cousin's 440. Eating Oreos like these white girls that blow me. Vodka for my ladies, whiskey for a grown man. Hanging in the islands looking like Coke Jam. I make the beat retarded so I'm in a slow jam. Put you in, I know it, man. Go ham. Okay, it's childish, can't be no homegirl, drop it like the NASDAQ. Move white girls like this coke up my ass crack. Move black girls, cause man, fuck it, I'll do either. I love pussy, I love bitches, dude, I should be running Peter in Adidas with some short shorts. B-O-O all over me, my green is where it's supposed to be. Your green is in my grocery. This Asian dude, I stole his girl, and now he got that Koji beef. My dick is like an accent mark, it's all about the over ease. Hot like a parked car, I sound weird like nigga with a hard R. Fly like the logo on my cousin's 440. Eating Oreos like these white girls that blow me. Vodka for my ladies, whiskey for a grown man.
Chỉ có làm, chịu khó, cần cù thì bù siêng năng. Chỉ có làm thì mới có ăn. Những cái loại không làm mà đòi có ăn thì ăn đầu quẩy nha. Ăn cất thì nó dễ.
And just a small note, I will now quote my friend Dave. The people in Vietnam are 78% happy because there is no war, no fucking fighting, and no terrorism.
ROC, what would you want to be in future?
Stand up.
Yes, you.
Stand up.
Stand up.
I would like to. I would like to be a terrorist.
They are very friendly to tourists.
Now you may be wondering what are some of the places that is worth a visit. Well, for example, it's of course Hanoi, the capital city. Here you can visit Hoàn Kiếm Lake or Hồ Gươm, Hanoi, with some friends to chill, hang out and get some drinks. It's the most beautiful, especially at night.
Next up, we have a city named Nha Trang, where you can visit the beach and go for a swim. There's also a water park that literally broke records. So it definitely is worth a visit.
If you want, you can go on Google and search for more amazing places in Vietnam. These were just the two best.
Okay, now it's time for one of the biggest parts of Vietnam. This is the reason why we all love this country so much. I'm of course talking about the food. Everyone loves Vietnamese food. You love Vietnamese food, your mom loves Vietnamese food, your father also loves Vietnamese food, your brothers and sisters love Vietnamese food, and even the homeless guy outside the restaurants loves Vietnamese food.
Let's take a look at some of the most notable dishes, shall we? First up, we have nothing other than pho. If I had to describe a pho in only 3 words, it would probably be nourishing, savory, authentic.
And what does ChatGPT think about pho?
Pho bo is a classic Vietnamese noodle soup with a rich aromatic beef broth. It features thinly sliced beef, rice noodles, and an array of fresh herbs and condiments for customization. The broth, simmered with charred ginger and onions, is the heart of the dish, and the art lies in achieving a perfectly balanced flavor profile. Assemble and enjoy with chopsticks and a spoon, savoring the combination of textures and flavors in every bite. It's a culinary masterpiece and a comforting delight.
Some other dishes that are worth to note are bún bò Huế, cơm tấm, gói cuốn, bún thịt nướng, and bánh mì. All these dishes are amazing and unique in its own way, and we really recommend to give it a try.
Something that a lot of people joke about is that Vietnamese people eat ducks or cats. Is it true? Well, yes, it is, but not that much as in old times, when living was tight and people were really struggling.
And at last, let's take a look at some fun facts. The school system in Vietnam requires you to wear a uniform, and the grading system ranges from 1 to 10, where 10 is like 1 in Czechia.
Vietnam is a relatively hot country because the temperatures in summer can reach up to 40 degrees Celsius and in winter reach 13 degrees Celsius.
If you are a citizen in Vietnam, you must remember these 5 lessons and quotes from my former president Ho Chi Minh, a man that had a big part in making Vietnamese history and helped make Vietnam free.
Love the fatherland, love the people.
Study well and work well.
Good solidarity, good discipline.
Love other human beings as you would love yourself.
Nothing is more precious than independence and liberty.
And this was our presentation, An Amazing Country, Vietnam.
We hope you enjoyed it and don't forget to like, subscribe, and see you next time.